The first paper airplane struck the back of her head with a quiet thwip. The class erupted in laughter. Just another substitute teacher to break. But then she turned. Slowly. And Eastridge High's most feared student, Jason Riley, saw something in her eyes that made his blood run cold. You ever seen a wolf walk into a room full of sheep? Ms. Carter asked, her voice dangerously calm as she picked up the textbook someone had accidentally thrown at her. No, but you've seen a sheep walk into a room full of wolves. She set the book down with deliberate care. Guess which one I am? By the end of that first class, Jason would be on his knees, 2 students would be crying for reasons they couldn't explain, and the entire school would be whispering one question. Who, or what, is Ms. Carter really? Because something will happen next in this story that you would have never imagined. From which country are you enjoying this story? Make sure to tell us in the comments, and subscribe now, because the truth about Ms. Carter is far more terrifying than anyone could have guessed. The classroom was just the beginning. The real lesson starts now. The classroom buzzed with its usual chaos when the door creaked open. The students of Eastridge High had a reputation, and substitutes never lasted more than a single period. Some left in tears. Others never came back after lunch. So when she walked in, no introduction, no nervous smile, nobody bothered to quiet down. She was smaller than they expected. Late 30s, maybe. Hair pulled back tight, no nonsense clothes. But something about the way she carried herself made the air feel heavier. Like a storm waiting to break. A paper airplane sailed from the back row, spiraling toward her head. She caught it without looking, her fingers snapping it out of the air like she'd known exactly where it would be. The class hesitated, just for a second. Then the whispers started. Who the hell is this? Bet she doesn't last 10 minutes. Jason Riley, sprawled in his usual seat at the center of the room, smirked. He was the kind of guy who filled a doorway just by standing in it. Broad shoulders, a football player's build, and a smirk that said he'd never been told no in his life. He leaned over to his friend, voice loud enough for the whole room to hear. Watch this. He cleared his throat, then lobbed a crumpled ball of paper straight at her back. It bounced off her shoulder and hit the floor. She didn't turn around. Instead, she picked up a piece of chalk and wrote 3 words on the board in clean, sharp strokes. Ms. Carter. English. Asterisk asterisk. Then she turned, and for the first time, the class got a good look at her face. No anger. No fear. Just calm, like she'd seen all this before and wasn't impressed. Jason leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. We don't do work for subs. A few snickers. A couple kids shifted, waiting for the explosion. Ms. Carter tilted her head, studying him like he was a problem she was figuring out how to solve. Then she walked, slow, deliberate, until she was standing right beside his desk. You're Jason, right? He grinned. Yeah. You heard of me? She nodded. I heard this class has a pack mentality. You're the one who decides who gets torn apart. The room went quiet. Jason's smile faltered. Just for a second. Then he scoffed. What, you gonna psychoanalyze me now? She didn't blink. No. I'm going to give you a choice. He rolled his eyes. Yeah. What's that? You can sit down, shut up, and pretend to care about grammar for an hour. She leaned in, just a little. Or you can test me. Something in her voice made the back of his neck prickle. The class held its breath. Jason's pride won. He stood up, chair scraping back, towering over her. And what happens if I test you? She didn't move. Then, faster than anyone expected, her hand shot out, gripping his wrist. A twist, a shift of weight, and suddenly Jason was on his knees, her voice low in his ear. You lose. The room exploded. Jason yanked free, face burning, but she was already stepping back, hands loose at her sides like nothing had happened. The bell rang. Nobody moved. Ms. Carter walked back to the front of the room, picking up a stack of papers. Essay prompts are on the desk. You have 40 minutes. Jason stormed out, muttering threats under his breath. The rest of the class stayed frozen until she looked up, one eyebrow raised. Now, pencils hit paper. And for the first time in Eastridge history, a substitute teacher won. The final bell rang, its shrill tone cutting through the chatter of Eastridge High's student body like a dull knife. Backpacks zipped shut, chairs screeched against linoleum, and the usual stampede for the exits began. But Jason Riley didn't move. He sat at his desk, fingers drumming an uneven rhythm against the chipped plastic surface, his gaze locked on the empty spot at the front of the room where she had stood just hours earlier. The memory of her grip on his wrist, the way she'd taken him down without even breaking a sweat, flashed behind his eyes like a taunt. "You lose." The words echoed in his skull, feeding the fire in his gut. Around him, the classroom emptied, but the whispers lingered. Asterisk. Did you see his face? Asterisk. Asterisk. I thought Jason was gonna cry. Asterisk. Asterisk. Guess the king got dethroned. Asterisk. His fist clenched. A shadow fell across his desk. Bro, you good? Tyler, his best friend since middle school, hovered by the door, his usual smirk absent. Jason forced his fingers to relax. Yeah. Just thinking. Tyler glanced down the hall, then stepped closer, voice dropping. Look man, forget about her. She's just some sub. She'll be gone by Monday. Jason stood, slinging his backpack over one shoulder. Yeah, maybe. But he didn't believe it. Something about the way she'd looked at him, like she knew him, like she'd seen 100 guys just like him before, stuck in his craw. He needed answers. The text. The parking lot was half empty by the time Jason pushed through the school's double doors, the late afternoon sun painting the asphalt in streaks of gold and shadow. He fished his phone from his pocket, thumbing it awake out of habit. A notification blinked at him. Unknown number asterisk, she's not what she seems. Jason frowned. A prank? Some asshole trying to mess with him after today? He typed back. Who is this? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Then, unknown number asterisk asterisk, meet me behind the gym in 10. If you want to know the truth. Asterisk. Jason hesitated. This reeked of a setup. But then he thought of Ms. Carter's cool stare, the way she hadn't even flinched when he tried to intimidate her. He pocketed his phone and turned left instead of right. The girl in the shadows. The back of the gym was Eastridge's unofficial graveyard, a cracked concrete slab littered with cigarette butts and crushed energy drink cans, hidden from the main campus by a row of overgrown shrubs. Jason rounded the corner, expecting a trap. Instead, he found Maya Hernandez. She sat on the rusted bleachers, her knees drawn up to her chest, a hood pulled low over her face. The quiet girl. The one who never spoke in class, who slipped through the halls like a ghost. Jason stopped short. Asterisk, you asterisk texted me? Maya didn't look up. You really think a random substitute just happens to know how to put a guy like you on the ground? Jason's jaw tightened. I wasn't ready. Bullshit. Maya lifted her head, and for the first time, Jason saw the sharpness in her eyes. She toyed with you, and you didn't even see it coming. A hot flush crawled up his neck. What's your point? Maya stood, brushing dirt from her jeans. My point is, she's dangerous. And if you're smart, you'll stay the hell away from her. Jason barked a laugh. What, you scared of her or something? Maya's expression didn't change. You ever hear of the Blackthorn fights? The name rang a distant bell, something his older brother had muttered about before he dropped out. Underground fights. No rules. Big money. Jason's pulse stuttered. That's just a rumor. Maya reached into her pocket and tossed him a folded piece of paper. Then explained that. The article. The paper was a photocopy, edges frayed, the text faded in places. But the headline was clear enough. Local MMA fighter suspended after brutal tournament incident. Below it, a grainy black and white photo showed a woman with a split lip and wrapped knuckles, her dark hair plastered to her face with sweat and blood. Jason's breath caught. It was Ms. Carter. But not the version he'd seen today. This woman's eyes burned with something feral, her mouth twisted in a snarl as she stood over a downed opponent. He skimmed the article, his stomach sinking with each line. Disciplinary hearing, excessive force, alleged ties to underground fight circuit. At the bottom, a single sentence was circled in red ink. Asterisk Carter was released from her contract following the incident, but sources claim she may still be involved in the underground scene. Asterisk. Jason's hand shook. Where'd you get this? Maya's voice was flat. My brother used to run security at the arena. He saw her fight. Said she was the most vicious striker he'd ever seen. She met Jason's gaze. She didn't just hurt people, Jason. She broke them. The plan. The sun dipped lower, stretching their shadows across the concrete. Jason forced himself to think. Okay, so she used to fight. That doesn't mean. You still don't get it, Maya cut in. She's not here by accident. My brother heard rumors. People looking for her. Dangerous people. She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. And if they find out she's here? At this school? Jason's mouth went dry. Maya held his gaze. We need proof. Something to show the principal. Before this gets worse. Jason exhaled sharply. And how do we do that? A slow smile curled Maya's lips. We follow her. The stalk. They waited until the last of the faculty cars had pulled out of the parking lot, crouched behind a dumpster as Ms. Carter emerged from the building, her bag slung over one shoulder. Jason held his breath as she paused, scanning the lot like she sensed their eyes on her. Then she turned and walked, not toward the staff parking, but toward the bus stop at the edge of campus. Maya nudged him. Told you. Something's off. They kept their distance, trailing her through the maze of suburban streets, sticking to shadows as the sky bled from orange to purple. 20 minutes later, Ms. Carter stopped in front of a run-down apartment complex, its paint peeling, a flickering neon sign advertising vacancy in sputtering red letters. Jason frowned. Teachers don't live in places like this. Maya didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the second-floor window, where a shadow moved behind the thin curtains. Then the curtain twitched, and a face appeared. A man, late 30s, a jagged scar running from his eyebrow to his jaw. Ms. Carter glanced over her shoulder before slipping inside. Maya grabbed Jason's arm, her nails digging in. That's Marcus Vale. Jason's blood turned to ice. He knew that name. Everyone did. Marcus Vale was the most wanted crime boss in the city, and Ms. Carter was walking straight into his apartment. Jason's breath hitched as the apartment door clicked shut behind Ms. Carter, sealing her inside with a man whose face had been splashed across every news channel in the city for the past 6 months. Marcus Vale wasn't just a criminal. He was a ghost. The cops had raided half a dozen of his hideouts, but he always slipped through their fingers. And now he was standing in a dingy second-floor apartment, less than 5 miles from Eastridge High. Maya's grip on Jason's arm tightened. We need to go. Now. Jason didn't move. His pulse hammered in his throat, but his feet felt rooted to the cracked sidewalk. She's working with him. The realization tasted like bile. That's why she's here. It's not about teaching. It's about hiding. Maya yanked him behind a rusted-out pickup truck parked across the street. And what exactly do you think we can do about it? Vale's crew shoots people, Jason. They don't give detentions. A light flicked on in the apartment window, casting long shadows against the thin curtains. 2 figures moved inside, one tall and broad, Vale, the other smaller, quicker, Carter. They were arguing. Jason couldn't make out the words, but the tension was clear even from a distance. Vale jabbed a finger toward her face. Carter didn't flinch. Then, so fast Jason almost missed it, she grabbed his wrist and twisted. Vale's free hand flew to his waistband. Jason's stomach dropped. Gun. But Carter didn't back down. She said something, low and sharp, and after a heartbeat, Vale relaxed. He even laughed, the sound carrying through the open window like broken glass. Maya exhaled shakily. She's not scared of him. Jason's phone buzzed in his pocket. A text from Tyler. Asterisk, dude, where are you? Coach is pissed you are missing practice. Asterisk. He ignored it. We need to get closer. Are you insane? Think about it, Jason hissed. If we can prove she's connected to Vale, the school fires her. Problem solved. Maya's eyes darted back to the window. The shadows had shifted. Carter was pacing now, running a hand through her hair in frustration. Vale watched her like a wolf watching a wounded deer. Fine, Maya muttered. But if we die, I'm haunting your ass forever. Close quarters. The apartment complex's fire escape was rusted but sturdy, its metal groaning under their weight as they climbed. Jason went first, his football-honed muscles carrying him up with ease, while Maya moved like a shadow behind him, silent and sure-footed. They stopped just below Vale's window, crouched on the narrow platform, ears straining. "Told you it's not ready yet." Carter's voice, tight with controlled anger. Vale's reply was a low rumble. "You've had 3 months, Lena." "The boss ain't a patient man." "Lena?" Jason mouthed to Maya. She shook her head, just as lost. Carter, Lena let out a sharp breath. "Then tell him to find someone else." "I'm done." A chair scraped. Vale's voice turned dangerous. "You don't get to walk away. Not after what you cost us." Silence. Then, so quiet Jason barely caught it. "I paid for that already." Something in her tone made the hair on Jason's arms stand up. This wasn't just some hired muscle. Whatever history Carter had with Vale, it was personal. Maya nudged him, pointing. Through a gap in the curtains, they could see Vale pull a manila envelope from his jacket and slide it across the table. Carter didn't touch it. "New job," Vale said. "Closer to home." She stared at it like it might bite her. "No, not a request." Vale leaned in. "Eastridge's got a security contract with Armatech. Blueprints, schedules, everything you need is in there. 2 weeks max." Jason's blood ran cold. Armatech? The defense contractor with a lab on the edge of town? His dad worked there as a security guard. Carter's hands curled into fists. "I'm not stealing for you." Vale smiled, slow and cruel. "Funny. That's exactly what you said last time." A floorboard creaked inside. Jason risked another glance, just in time to see Carter snatch the envelope and shove it into her bag. Maya's nails dug into his arm. "We need to go. Now." Jason nodded, starting to turn. Crack. The fire escape shuddered under their feet. One of the rusted bolts holding it to the wall had snapped. Inside, the conversation cut off. Vale's voice sharp. "What was that?" Jason's heart stopped. Maya didn't hesitate. She grabbed his wrist and yanked, pulling him down the stairs just as the apartment window flew open. "Hey!" Vale's roar followed them as they hit the ground running. The chase. They didn't stop until they'd rounded 3 corners and ducked into a 24-hour laundromat, its fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Jason bent double, lungs burning, while Maya kept watch through the grimy front window. "No one followed," she panted after a minute. Jason wiped sweat from his forehead. What the hell was that? "She's not just hiding, she's working for him." Maya shook her head. "Did you see her face? She hates him." "Yeah, well, she took the job." Jason pulled out his phone, hands shaking. "We need to call the cops." Maya slapped it out of his hand. "And say what?" "Hey, we were stalking our teacher and oh by the way, she knows a gangster?" "They'll laugh us out of the station." Jason opened his mouth to argue. The laundromat's door chimed. They both froze. Ms. Carter stood in the doorway, her bag slung over one shoulder, her expression unreadable. For a long moment, no one moved. Then she sighed. "You two are really bad at this." The truth. She made them sit. Didn't ask how much they'd heard. Didn't threaten them. Just leaned against a washing machine and studied them like they were a particularly frustrating puzzle. Jason braced for the worst. Expulsion. A warning from Vale's crew. Maybe worse. But Carter just rubbed her temples. "How much do you know?" Maya, ever the bolder of the two, lifted her chin. "Enough to know you're not a real teacher." A flicker of something. Amusement? Regret? Crossed Carter's face. "No, I'm not." Jason found his voice. "Are you going to kill us?" That got a reaction. Carter snorted. "If I wanted you dead, you wouldn't be sitting here." She pushed off the machine and started pacing. "Look, this isn't what you think. Vale's using me. I'm trying to get out." Maya crossed her arms. "By stealing from Armatech?" Carter's jaw tightened. "I'm not stealing anything." "Then what's in the envelope?" Jason pressed. She stopped pacing. looked at them both like she was weighing a decision. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out the manila folder. Inside wasn't blueprints or schematics. It was a photo. A teenage girl, maybe their age, with Carter's sharp cheekbones and wild dark hair. Jason frowned. "Who's that?" Carter's voice was barely audible. "My sister." Maya sucked in a breath. "She's missing." It wasn't a question. Carter nodded, her fingers tightening around the photo. "Vale took her 3 months ago. Said if I want her back, I play along with this job." Her eyes met Jason's. "But I'm not helping him rob Armatek. I'm going to burn his whole operation to the ground." Silence settled over the laundromat, broken only by the hum of the fluorescent lights. Jason exhaled slowly. "What do you need us to do?" The laundromat's fluorescent lights buzzed like angry wasps, casting harsh shadows across Carter's face as she studied the two teenagers in front of her. Jason could see the calculations running behind her eyes, weighing their usefulness against their liability. Maya broke the silence first. "Your sister. How old is she?" 17. Carter's thumb brushed the edge of the photo before tucking it back into the envelope. "She got mixed up with Vale's crew last year. Thought she was dating some low-level dealer. Turned out the kid was Vale's nephew." Jason's stomach twisted. He knew how that story ended. Eastridge had buried 2 kids last year from overdoses traced back to Vale's product. Carter continued, her voice flat. "When I found out, I tried to pull her out. Vale didn't like that." Her knuckles whitened around the envelope. "Next thing I knew, she was gone. Just vanished. And I got a text with this address." Maya leaned forward. "So the teaching job is cover," Carter finished. "Vale's idea. Said if I wanted to see my sister again, I'd take the sub-position at Eastridge and get close to Armatek through faculty connections." She barked a humorless laugh. "Turns out your principal's brother is head of security at the lab." Jason's blood ran cold. His dad had mentioned Mr. Greeley's brother, a stern ex-Marine who ran Armateka's protection detail with military precision. If Vale wanted inside that lab, "You can't actually be considering helping him," Jason blurted. "That place develops defense tech. If Vale gets his hands on..." "I'm not." Carter's voice could have cut steel. "But I need proof. Something concrete to take to the cops that'll force them to move on Vale's operation. Right now, all I've got is hearsay and a sister who ran away." She met Jason's eyes. "That's where you come in." Maya stiffened. "No way. We're not getting involved in. Not asking you to." Carter pulled a burner phone from her pocket and slid it across the table. "But if you see anything weird at school, new faces, teachers acting strange, deliveries that don't add up, you text me. Immediately." Jason picked up the phone. It was cheap, disposable, the kind of thing you bought in bulk at a gas station. "You think Vale's people are coming to Eastridge?" "I think," Carter said slowly, "that Vale doesn't trust me any more than I trust him. And if he's planning a move on Armatek, he'll have backup plans." She stood, shouldering her bag. "Keep your heads down. Don't follow me again. And if you see a guy with a scar like this," she traced a line from her eyebrow to her jaw, mirroring Vale's, "you run. Understand?" Maya nodded tightly. Jason just stared at the phone in his hand, the weight of what they'd stumbled into settling over him like a lead blanket. Carter turned to leave. "Wait." Jason's voice stopped her at the door. "What's your sister's name?" A pause. Then, softer than he expected, "Riley." And just like that, she was gone. The calm before. The next morning, Eastridge High felt different. Jason moved through the halls like a ghost, hyper-aware of every unfamiliar face, every muttered conversation. The burner phone sat heavy in his pocket, a constant reminder of the line he'd just crossed. Tyler caught up to him at his locker, grinning. "Dude, you look like hell. Late night." Jason forced a laugh. "Something like that. You missed some crazy shit at practice. Coach blew a gasket when..." "Hey!" Jason cut him off, eyes catching on a man in a maintenance uniform fiddling with the fire alarm near the gym. Too tall. Too clean-cut for a janitor. "Who's that?" Tyler followed his gaze and shrugged. "No clue. Think they're doing some electrical work today." Jason's fingers brushed the phone in his pocket. New faces. He waited until Tyler was distracted, then snapped a quick photo and fired it off to Carter's number with a single word. Here. The reply came faster than he expected. Asterisk, don't engage. Stay normal. Asterisk. Normal. Right. Jason took a deep breath and turned back to Tyler. So, what happened at practice? The trap. Lunch period found Jason and Maya huddled at their usual corner table, heads bent together like they were studying. That's two, Maya murmured, nodding subtly toward the cafeteria entrance where another maintenance worker lingered near the doors. Both by emergency exits. Jason's leg bounced under the table. You think they're casing the school? Or waiting for someone? Maya's eyes darted to the clock. Carter's got third period free. If she's meeting anyone. A crash echoed from the far side of the cafeteria as a freshman dropped his tray. The two men by the door didn't even flinch. Jason's phone buzzed. Asterisk library. Now. Asterisk. He showed Maya. She chewed her lip. Could be a trap. Yeah. Jason stood. But we're already in one. The library. Eastridge's library was a relic. Dusty shelves, flickering overhead lights, and the faint smell of old paper and desperation. Normally packed during lunch with kids avoiding the cafeteria chaos. Today it was eerily empty. Jason spotted Carter immediately. She stood by the emergency exit, her posture deceptively relaxed. You shouldn't have come, she said without turning around. Maya crossed her arms. Then why text us? Finally, Carter faced them. Her eyes were hard. Because they're here for me. Jason's stomach dropped. Vale's people. A nod. He figured out I'm not playing along. Sent a cleanup crew. She jerked her chin toward the hallway. Those maintenance guys? They're enforcers. And they're not alone. As if on cue, the library doors swung open. Jason turned and came face to face with Principal Greeley. Except it wasn't Greeley. Not really. The man standing there wore Greeley's face, his suit, even his signature paisley tie. But the smile was all wrong. Too sharp, too many teeth. Miss Carter, not Greeley said, his voice dripping false warmth. We've been looking for you. Carter didn't blink. Took you long enough, Felix. Jason's mind raced. Felix. The name rang a bell. One of Vale's lieutenants, a guy known for his talent with disguises. Felix/Greeley chuckled. Boss wants a word. Seems you've been distracted from your assignment. His gaze slid to Jason and Maya. Though I see you've been making new friends. Carter shifted subtly, putting herself between them and Felix. Kids have nothing to do with this. Oh, but they do. Felix stepped closer, his hand dipping into his jacket. See, Vale's got a theory. Thinks you've gone soft. That maybe teaching's made you forget what you really are. He pulled out a phone and tapped the screen. A video played. Grainy, shaky, but unmistakable. A younger Carter, face streaked with blood, standing over a downed opponent in what looked like an underground fighting ring. The camera panned to her opponent, a man, barely conscious, his face a mess of broken bone and torn flesh. Carter's voice off camera. Asterisk, tell Vale this is what happens when he breaks a deal. Asterisk. Then she drove her foot down. The video cut off. Felix smirked. Remember now? Jason's mouth went dry. Next to him, Maya had gone perfectly still. Carter's expression didn't change. That was then. And this is now. Felix's free hand drifted toward his waistband. So here's how this goes. You come with me quietly. These kids walk away. Or... He shrugged. Well, you know how messy schools can be. A threat. A test. Jason saw the exact moment Carter made her choice. Her stance shifted. Subtle. But to anyone who knew what to look for, unmistakable. Felix saw it too. His hand moved. Carter moved faster. The fight. What happened next blurred together in Jason's memory. 1 second, Felix was reaching for what was definitely a gun. The next, Carter was on him. A whirlwind of elbows and knees, her movements too fast to track. Felix managed to get a hand up, blocking the first strike, but the second caught him square in the throat. He staggered back, gagging, his greely mask slipping. Maya grabbed Jason's arm. "We need to." A crash from the hallway cut her off. The two maintenance men burst through the doors, weapons drawn. Jason's body moved before his brain could catch up. He yanked Maya behind a bookshelf as the first shot rang out, sending a shower of plaster raining down from the ceiling. Carter didn't freeze. She dove behind the librarian's desk just as the second shot shattered the computer monitor where she'd been standing. Felix, still wheezing, clawed at his face, peeling away the greely mask to reveal sharp features and a jagged scar across his forehead. "Kill her," he rasped. "And the kids." Jason's blood turned to ice. Another shot. Another miss. Then, silence. Carter had vanished. The two enforcers fanned out, guns sweeping the stacks. Jason held his breath, pressing closer to Maya. They were trapped. A shadow moved above them. Jason looked up just as Carter dropped from the top shelf like a panther, landing squarely on one enforcer's back. The man went down hard, his skull cracking against the floor. The second enforcer spun, gun raised. Carter grabbed a heavy dictionary from the shelf and hurled it like a discus. It struck the gun hand with a sickening crunch, sending the weapon skittering across the floor. Felix made a break for the door. Carter was on him in 3 strides, yanking him back by the collar and driving her knee into his ribs. Felix folded like paper. Then it was over. Silence. Jason realized he was shaking. Carter stood over Felix's prone form, breathing hard. When she turned to them, her eyes were wild, feral. "Run!" The aftermath. They didn't stop running until they hit the parking lot. Maya doubled over, gasping. What the hell was that? Jason's hands wouldn't stop trembling. He'd seen fights before. Hell, he'd been in plenty, but that was something else. Carter hadn't just fought. She'd destroyed. His phone buzzed. Asterisk bus stop. 10 minutes. Don't tell anyone. Asterisk. Jason showed Maya. She shook her head. We can't trust her. Not after what we just saw. Jason thought about the video, about Carter's boot coming down on that man's face. Then he thought about the way she'd positioned herself between them and Felix, like a shield. "Yeah," he said quietly. "We can." The bus stop was deserted when Jason and Maya arrived. The plastic bench cracked from years of sun exposure and neglect. Jason checked his phone again, no new messages, and tried to ignore the way his pulse hammered against his ribs. Maya paced like a caged animal, her sneakers scuffing against the pavement. "This is insane. We should call the cops. Real cops. And tell them what?" Jason rubbed his temples. "That our substitute teacher just took down 3 armed gangsters in the school library? With what proof?" "The security cameras." Which Greeley, or Felix, or whoever the hell that was, probably already erased. Jason kicked a pebble, watching it skitter across the asphalt. "Face it. We're in this now." A shadow moved at the edge of the parking lot. Carter emerged from the trees like a ghost, her hood pulled low, her knuckles raw and red. She didn't speak, just jerked her head toward the abandoned auto shop across the street. Jason exchanged a glance with Maya. They followed. Safe house. The shop was a graveyard of rusted parts and oil stains, the air thick with the scent of gasoline and mildew. Carter locked the door behind them before tossing a duffel bag onto a workbench. "Change of plans." Her voice was gravel. "Vale knows I'm compromised, which means he'll move my sister." Maya crossed her arms. "And we're supposed to care because?" Jason elbowed her. Carter didn't react. She unzipped the bag, revealing stacks of cash, a handful of burner phones, and, Jason's breath hitched, a gun. "You saw the video," she said flatly. "I'm not a good person. But Riley is." She met Jason's gaze. "She's 17. Wants to be a doctor. Never even held a gun before Vale took her." Jason swallowed. "What do you need from us?" Carter pulled a folded map from her pocket and spread it across the bench. Eastridge, the surrounding neighborhoods, and a red circle around an industrial park on the city's edge. "Vale's holding her here. Abandoned textile mill." She tapped the circle. I've got one shot at this. But I need a distraction. Maya snorted. Let me guess. That's where we come in. No. Carter's tone left no room for argument. You're going to the cops. Real cops. But you can't go empty-handed. She handed Jason a USB drive. This has everything. Vale's operation, the Architect job, my sister's abduction. Enough to put him away for life. Jason turned the drive over in his hands. Why not take it yourself? Because Vale's watching every station in the county. Carter's jaw tightened. But 2 kids walking in? They won't expect that. Maya eyed the drive like it might explode. And what happens to you? Carter didn't answer. She just reached into the duffel and pulled out the gun. The choice. The walk to the police station took 20 minutes. Jason's fingers never left the USB drive in his pocket. Maya hadn't spoken since they left the shop. You think she's telling the truth? Maya finally asked as the station came into view. Jason thought about the video, about the cold fury in Carter's eyes as she broke that man's face. Then he thought about the way her voice cracked when she said her sister's name. I don't know, he admitted, but I think we're the only shot her sister has. Maya stopped walking. Jason. Look. A black SUV idled at the station's entrance. 2 men in suits leaning against the hood. Too polished. Too alert. Jason's stomach dropped. Cops. Not the kind we want. Maya grabbed his wrist and pulled him into an alley. Vale's got people everywhere. Even here. Jason's mind raced. If they couldn't go to the cops. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Asterisk change of plans. Meet me at the mill. Bring the drive. Asterisk. Jason frowned. That's not Carter's number. Maya's face paled. Then who? Another buzz. A photo this time. Carter, bloodied and on her knees. A gun pressed to her temple. The message below. Asterisk come alone. Or she dies. Asterisk. The trap. The textile mill loomed against the night sky. Its broken windows like empty eye sockets. Jason's hand shook as he climbed the fence. The USB drive a lead weight in his pocket. Maya had wanted to come, but he'd left her at a diner 3 blocks back with strict orders to call the actual cops if he wasn't back in an hour. The yard was eerily quiet. The only sound the crunch of gravel under his shoes as he approached the main building. A shadow detached itself from the wall. Jason Riley. The voice was smooth, cultured. Not what he expected from a crime boss. Vale stepped into the moonlight, his scarred face twisted in a smile. I've heard so much about you. Jason's throat went dry. Where's Carter? Vale chuckled and gestured to the open door behind him. Oh, she's inside. We've been catching up. Jason didn't move. And her sister? Something flickered in Vale's eyes. Amusement? Annoyance? Alive. For now. He held out a hand. The drive, please. Jason hesitated. Vale sighed. Jason, you're not the hero here. You're the bait. He snapped his fingers. 2 men dragged Carter into view. She was barely conscious, her face a mess of bruises, one arm hanging at an unnatural angle. Vale tooted. Look what you made me do. Jason's vision swam. This was a mistake. He should have listened to Maya. Should have. A gunshot rang out. Vale's smile vanished as one of his men crumpled. Carter moved like lightning, driving her elbow into the second man's throat and snatching his pistol before he hit the ground. Chaos erupted. The firefight. Jason dove behind a rusted-out forklift as bullets peppered the ground around him. Carter was a blur, rolling, firing, moving before the echoes of her shots faded. 2 more of Vale's men went down before they even got their weapons up. Vale himself had vanished into the shadows. A hand grabbed Jason's collar, yanking him behind a concrete pillar. Carter's breath was ragged. You idiot! Jason opened his mouth. She clamped a hand over it as footsteps approached. Vale's voice, closer than expected. Lena! Come on now. Let's talk this out. Carter's grip on the gun tightened. Jason peeled her hand away. Your sister. Safe. Carter's eyes never left the darkness. Got her out this morning. Jason blinked. Then why? A bullet shattered the pillar above their heads. Carter returned fire before pulling Jason deeper into the mill. Because Vale needs to pay. The truth. They moved through the skeletal remains of the factory, Carter leading with the practiced ease of someone who'd done this before. You set this up, Jason realized. The USB drive. The texts. All of it. Carter didn't deny it. Vale's paranoid. Wouldn't come out unless he thought he had leverage. And I was the leverage. She stopped at a metal staircase, listening. You were bait. Jason's stomach twisted. He should have been angry. Maybe he was. But right now, all he felt was a sick sort of awe. Carter gestured upward. Roof. Now. They climbed just as the first police sirens wailed in the distance. The end game. The roof offered a panoramic view of the chaos below. Flashing lights, shouting officers, Vale's men scattering like roaches. Carter watched it all with hollow eyes. Jason followed her gaze to where Vale was being shoved into a squad car. His expensive suit rumpled, his face a mask of fury. It's over, Jason said. Carter shook her head. It's never over. She turned to leave. Jason grabbed her arm. Wait. Your sister is safe. And you're alive. That's what matters. She pried his fingers loose. Go home, Jason. Forget any of this happened. Then she was gone, vanishing into the night like smoke. Epilogue. The news called it a major organized crime bust. Principal Greeley, the real one, returned from his vacation, with no memory of the past week. Maya stopped sitting in the back of class. And Ms. Carter never came back to Eastridge High. Jason kept the USB drive. Just in case. Because Carter was right about one thing. It was never really over.